Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Mr. Kadim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, Quart University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 23 of the subject of Object-Oriented Analysis and Design, in which we are going to discuss the JPopup menus, JSliders in Java, and also we will discuss the look and feels in Java Windows application. Dear students, this is the last lectures of the graphical user interface in Java. After this lectures, then we will switch to UML designing, in which we will draw different diagrams of unified modeling language in certain tools and technologies. These lectures were very much important because when you understand the different concepts of object classes and the components, then you should also have the ability to implement these objects, classes and components in Java and any other languages. Because Java is a stable language, so that's why we have utilized here the Java language. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of the JPopup menus. Also we have the JSliders. So these are two important controls in Java which are used to take the input from the users. But these are in fact used to perform certain actions. When the JPower menu is selected, then particular action or event is called. Also we have the JSliders. In the JSliders, we provide the input in the form of some values, and the values are selected by using JSlider. The slider are used to provide the input in the form of sliding values. And then we have the look and feels in Java. Here we will provide you different sort of the look and feel of the graphical user interface in Java language. And here are the examples in the programmings, which includes displaying all look and feels and the Java programming examples of all these topics. And at the end we have the references. First is the JPopup menu. JPopup menu is also a graphical user interface component, and most of the computer applications is used by the JPopup menus. So JPopup menus is in fact a control which is used in most of the computer applications, and these are also called the context sensitive pop-up menus. The context sensitive means that this pop-up menu is used in a particular concepts or in the particular sense of the applications. Also, the context sensitive means that these controls, which is the JPopup menus controls, these are used in a certain situation or in the certain some circumstances. So in that particular situation or circumstances, then we use the JPopup menus. For example, when you have to provide the input by right clicking with the button, so then the JPopup is the best options here. Now JPopup menus is implemented in the swings components. So this controls belongs to the swings. So you requires import java x.swings.static controls to implement the JPopup menus, and its class is JPopup menu, which is a subclass of the J components, because all components are all different controls are inherited from the J components. So that's why similarly JPopup menu is also the child of the J components class, while J components is the parent class. So these controls provide the options that are specific to the components for which the JPopup triggers over the events that are generated. So JPopup menu is in fact related to a certain components. So when we add JPopup menus to another controls, then that JPopup will be only associated with that particular controls here. So that means that in the coding we have to associate the JPopup menus to a specific controls. This is a code of the JPopup menu. Before understanding the code, we should understand the output. Here you can see that when we will right click over this interface, then this JPopup menu will appear, where there are three different colors: blue, yellow, red. So when you will click on that particular color, then that color will be set as a background of this interface. For example, we will select yellow, so then this interface will become yellow. When we will select blue, then blue, and it will become red when this red JPopup menu is clicked. Now we will switch here or starts the code here. So first we have different packages or the import statements in Java. These are the libraries which are responsible for implementing multiple classes here. Import java.awt.stylex. This is the first package which contains the abstracts windowing toolkit classes, and this package contains frame1 class that is which is inherited from the JFrame. JFrame is the built-in class and it is implemented inside of the AWT.stylex package. Then we have the import java.awt.event.stylex package. This package contains the event which is responsible for taking the input from the users. When the user want to interact with the GUI, then the java.awt.event.stylex package is used here. For example, here it contains item handler class, so that's why the item handler class is implemented inside of the abstracts windowing toolkit.event.stylex package. Now also we have import javax.swings.stylex. This package contains the swings components like JReady buttons or JPopup menus, and similarly all others component which is starting from the J, like JLabel, JButtons, JReady button, JCheckbox, etc. So here we have first declares the arrays of the JReady button menu items, item 0. Means that this is the array and the array belongs to the JReady button menu item class, which is a private class. Then we have private color values. Also we have declares the arrays of the colors. Private color values is equal to color.blue, color.yellow, color.red. So here we have declares three different colors through the color class, and dot blue, dot yellow, and dot red are the properties of the color class. Also we have the private JPopup menus, pop-up menus. Here we have declares pop-up menus. Public frame 1, this is the constructor. Constructor will be instantiated when its object is, or it will be called when its object is instantiated or defined. Then we have super functions which defines the titles of the GUI super using JPopup menu. So this is the text over the title of the window. Here we have strings colors blue, yellow, red. So here we have defined three different colors blue, yellow, and red. Also we have defined the arrays of the colors here. Also we have defined the strings arrays with the name of the colors, and the strings are the blue, yellow, and red. Now here we have implemented item handler class. So item handler is the object, new item handler is the constructor, and handler is the object here. Now we requires to group the buttons because JReady buttons are usually non-grouped. They should be grouped because we want to make synchronization between different buttons here. That's why we requires to group them. So button group, color group, new button group. This is the button group. Pop-up menu is a new JPopup menu. Here we have defined this constructor which is just declared here. Then we have the for loop. For loop is starting from 0 to the items.length. So number of items which are 3 here. So that means the loop will start from 0 to 2 here. It will be executed 3 times because its size is 3. So when here 3 will be passed and the loop will be incremented. So means that first time it will be loop will be executed for 0, then loop will be executed for 1, then loop will be executed for 2, and after 2 the loop will be exit, because here the condition will become false. Now here items count new JRedo buttons, redo button menu items colors more count. This code is in fact providing the number of JRedo button menu items, because here the count, which is a loop counter which is passed here, so it defines the number of the JRedo button menu items. Now you can see that when we have the items which is 3, so they are 0, 1, 2, so means that 0, 1, 2 will be the number of the items in this array of the JRedo button menu items arrays. Now pop-up menus that add items count, so it means that all the items will be added inside of the pop-up menu. Then color group dot add, which color group is the in fact buttons group. So in this group, all the buttons should also be added here, which are the radio buttons. So color group dot add items counts. Now then we have count code dot add action listener handler. So this that means that with this handlers the add action listener, which is the click events of the items which are JRedo buttons. Here this object is passed and in the constructor or in the function of the add action listeners. That means that the events is associated, which is item handler events, to the JRedo buttons menu items. Now then we have get content dot set background color dot white. So initially its color will be white, and add mouse listener new mouse adapters. Here is the event which is mouse listeners, because this the container will listen to the mouse. So when the right click will be performed, then it will perform certain functions. So here is the add mouse listener new mouse adapter public void mouse release. So when the mouse will be released, then the mouse event, this event will be called here, which is the mouse event class, and event is the object. So check for trigger event. So that means that when the check for trigger function will be here called when the mouse will be released. Now what is check for trigger event is performing? So the check for event is in fact the function which takes mouse event as a parameters. Now if event dot is pop-up trigger, so means that when the pop-up is clicked, then pop-up menu dot show event dot get components comma event dot get access and event dot get y access. So that means that the pop-up will be visible, or it will be shown to this container, which or to this event dot get component function. And here two parameters, event dot get access and event dot get y. These are x-axis and y-axis functions, which means that at that particular x-axis and y-axis location, this pop-up menu should be appeared. And then at the end we have set size functions, which is 300, 200, and set visible to means that the function that this GUI should be available or visible to the end users. And here is the public static void main function, which is the void main function which must be in every Java programs here. And Java program execution is starting from the void main function. So that's why in every Java program there should be void main function. And in the void main function we have the frame1 application new frame1. Here is the object of the frame1 application.set default close operation jframe.exit on close. So it will close the window when it will be clicked. So that means that when this cross will be clicked, so it will close the window. Here is the private class item handler implements action listeners. So here all the actions are implemented. So this is the item handler class which is inherited from the action listeners, and it implements this interface class. So this is the implement relations of the action listener with item handler class. Means that this item handler is using action listener interface class. So that's why there is the implements. It should not be in fact inheritance, because action listener is the interface class, not the concrete class. Then public void action perform action event E. Here is the action which will be performed here. Inside of this function we have the loop. Loop is starting from 0 to the number of items, which are 3, so it will be executed up to 2. So that means that 0, 1, 2. So usually it will be executed up to 3 times, but items dot length I plus plus means that this there 3 will be passed, but it will execute up to 0, 1, 2, because there are 3 items. If even that get source double equal to item I means that if the particulars pop-up menus is clicked, then get content dot set background color dot values dot I. So here the particular colors will be set as a background of this get content pane. Now, dear students, we will execute this code in our Eclipse IDE. So for this purpose, you have to exit these slides. So first we need requires to start our Eclipse IDE. I have 2020 version of the Eclipse IDE. So meanwhile the Eclipse IDE will be available with us. Here you can see that Eclipse IDE is launching itself. Now go to the slides. First you have to transfer this part of the code. So here just right click and copy it, and then you have to transfer this code to the Eclipse IDE. So meanwhile Eclipse IDE is running here. So Eclipse IDE is launched for us. If you have any previous code, so you have to remove from the existing projects. You can also create the new projects here. So here I have to copy this code, or I need to transfer it to the Eclipse. So here you can see that this part has been transferred. Again you have to click to transfer to another part. This part is also transferred. Now you have to also transfer this part of your code to the Eclipse IDE, and finally we have the void main and the item handlers event function and class. So we have transferred all the code. Now go to the class declaration here, but because our file is in fact class 1, but here you can see that this is frame 1, so you have to remain it to frame class 1. So change it from frame 1 to class 1. If your class name is already class 1, so that is okay. Also we require to change the constructor here, it's class 1. Now also we will change here the object instantiated. So here it should be class 1, because in the slides we have mostly frame 1 class. Now our changes are completed. Now we have to execute this code. For this purpose, click this green button. Now I will click this green button to execute and run the example. So click here. You can see that this is the output. You can change its positions. This is the output. Now if I will right click here, you can see that here the output is appearing. So right click to see the JPopup menu. For example, if I select the yellow, now you can see that the background has changed. Similarly red and similarly blue. So this is the JPopup menu example, which is in fact implemented here, and the action which has been performed is to change the background color of the content pane. So here the background color is changing. Okay, now we will resume our slides for the next topic. Next one important controls in Java is called the JSlider. You can see here in this image that this JSlider is used to select particular values from the range of different values. So here it will be the start values, which is the minimum, and here it will be the maximum values, which is the final value. So slider enables the user to select from a range of integer values. Here the class JSlider is inherited from the J components, and it implements this JSlider which is shown here in this figures. So the user will click or will select certain text marks here, which is the thumb, and allow user to select particular values. So JSliders are highly customizable in that way that if you want to display certain values, then you can do it. Also, if you want to change the range, you can also do it. So this can display major tick marks, minor tick marks, and label for these tick marks. So here we have three different values. That is major tick marks, and then major tick marks is there, and then we have the minor tick marks, which is the first marks, and also the values which returns any value in that particular position. Here is the example of the JSlider. So before understanding the example, we have to understand this output. Here is the JSlider. If I slide this value, then the circle size will change here. So this is the minimum and this is the maximum values here. First, we have different packages which we have explained a lot in every examples. We have import java.awt.styles package, which is responsible for implementing JFrame. We have javax.swings.styles package, which is responsible for JSliders. Similarly, that panels. And also we have javax.swings.event package, which is responsible for events. But here, this time we are using the swings events, not AWT.events. Now we have public class frame1, which is inherited from the JFrames. That means that frame1 is our own class, while JFrame is the built-in class. Here is the JSlider diameter sliders. This is the name of the JSliders. And you can see that all panel, my panels, here is just the object instantiation of the all panels. But all panels is another class here. This is the all panel, which is inherited from the JFrame. That is JPanel. Okay. Now, then we have the constructor frame1 is a constructor here of the frame1 class. Inside of the constructor, we have super slider demo, which is set the title of the GUI. Then we will set here the all panels. So first we will complete its objects. So my panel, new all panel is a class. Now when we have declares the constructors are objects of the my panel, so it means that overall that constructor will be called here. My panel dot set background color dot yellow, that means that essentially the panel color is yellow. Diameter slider new JSlider swings constant horizontal 1 to 20 and 2. That means that the JSlider values will be from 1 to 20, and it will be in fact incremented with the help of 2. Means that 2 increments here. Now diameter slider that said measure tick spacing 10. So from 1 to 10 to it, there will be 10 measure tick spacing. Now that means that overall 200 will be divided by 10, so it will return 20. So means that there will be 20 ticks. Now diameter slider that set pen ticks true. That means that here this diameter slider, which is in fact a JSlider, it set pen text means that all these set text will be appear. Now diameter slider add change listener. This is the event of the sliders, and it is the change listener event, means that the slider value will be changed here. Public void state change, when the state of the slider will be changed here. My panel dot set diameter slider dot get values. So here it will return the values, and that value will be set as a panel diameter. So this will define the size of the panel. Next is container get content print. This define the size of the containers, but it defines here the space or the size in terms of the memory required by this container. Now container let add diameter slider border layout dot south. So the south border is selected here. So south border is in fact the bottom side of the window. So the slider will be added to the bottom side. Here if I show the output, this is the south. This one is in fact east, west, north is the top, south and center is center. So east, west, north, south. And the south is the bottom, while north is the top position. Okay. Next is in fact in the container, the my panel is added and its border layout is center. So the my panel is added into the container here, while my panel is the class. This is the next class which we are going to explain in the next slide. Its size is 220 by 270 by in terms of different pixel, and its set visible is true. That means that it should be appear. Now we have published a wide main function. This is the function which must be in every Java programs, and the Java program execution starts from here. And here we have frame 1 application, new frame 1. This is the constructor and object instantiation. When the object is instantiated, this constructor will be called, which is in fact defining the whole events as well as the GUI. Now here is the another class we will implement here. Another class contains AWT graphics library. So abstract vendor toolkit also have the graphics libraries. So graphics libraries is responsible for the functions such as declaring the GObject of the graphics and paint components function and super.paint component G and G.fill ovals with the parameters of 10, 10 and diameter, diameters. Now this is the oval panel class, extends it from the JPanel. JPanel is our built-in class and it is inherited from this parent class. Now private in diameter to 10. Initially the diameter of this oval will be 10. Public void paint components graphics G. This is the function which is in fact implemented here. That means that it will create the GObject of the graphics. And this object is responsible for plotting some things which are coming here. Next is super.paint component G. It will print the components, and what will be printed here? The fill oval will be printed in, and its first location is in fact constant 10, 10. It is fixed, while the second location is not fixed, diameter, diameter. Now where this diameter values will be obtained? These are obtained from this function. So public void set diameter new diameters. This function provides the diameters here. Now diameter is equal to new diameters if the diameter value is greater than 0 and the diameter value is in fact 10, then we have to perform the repainting. Repainting will re-display the window or repainting of the different components over the window. Public dimension that get preferred size. This is the function which takes the size of that window. Now return new dimension 200, 200. So it will return the new dimensions with the size of 200, 200. Public dimension get minimum size. So the minimum size will be obtained through the dimension of class here. Return get preferred size. It will return the preferred size here. Now up to here the code has been completed. Now you can see that here are two opening brackets, but these are in fact the two closing brackets. To execute this code, you have to first transfer this part of the code to the Eclipse IDE. So for this purpose, for example, escape or exit the slides. I already transferred this code as well. Similarly, you have to create the new class here. The class creation is quite easy. Right click on the SRC folders, go to the next. new and select the new class. Here you need to type the class name. For example, the class name is all panels. This is already I have typed here. So this will be all panel, and then you need to click OK. But because we have already this class here, so that's why you cannot. In fact, this finish button is not in the focus; it is disabled. So if you remove this class, then it will be provided. You can create the new class here with the name of all panel, and also you have to transfer this whole code from this slides to there. So you have to transfer all of its code here. So here you can see that this code has been transferred here. Now you have to click on the first class, which is class 1, and click this green button. So when you will click this green button, you will see the output. You can extend this output like our GUI like this way. So when you will change the position of the sliders over JSliders, you can see that the values are transferred to this diameter, to the diameter parameters of this JOL. So you can see that the values are changed here and the diameter is also changed here. So this is the JSlider demo, which implements this the inputs from the customers using the JSliders, and the input is provided with a certain range here. Next is the look and feel of the graphical user interface. The look and feels provides the way that on which the user will perceive the graphical user interface. In Java programs, most of the look and feels are the Macintosh look and feels, and other programmings which are running on the Macintosh. A Java program running on the Microsoft Windows will look like the Microsoft Windows look and feel. Similarly, if you run the Java programs on the Unix platforms, then it will look like the Unix look and feels here. So there are multiple sort of the look and feels which are the Unix and Motif, and similarly Microsoft look and feels. So these look and feels are implemented inside of the Swings libraries. This is the examples which will provide you different sort of the look and feels. Here is the package, and the package is import javax.swings.user-interface-manager package. It contains all sort of the look and feels. Here is the public class main function, which has public stated void main, and there is the user interface manager dot look and feels info, that is look and feel info, which is the live arrays here, and the arrays is implementing the user interface manager dot look and feel function. In fact, these are the classes, and user interface manager dot get install look and feel look and feels. So all the installed or supported look and feels are displayed here. Here the loops will fetch all sort of the look and feels, and the number of look and feels depends on this installed look and feels over your computer. And here all the look and feels are displayed by system.out.println, so that will print the consoles output here. So all the look and field names are provided here. So look and field names are in fact fetched from the get name function through the look and field library. So all the look and fields are in fact provided here through the get.install look and field function. Now all the look and fields which are displayed here, these include look and field names, metal look and fields, then also we have look and field as CTE, Motif look and fields. CTE Motif is common desktop environment look and field, and also there is the Windows look and fields, which is in fact the Microsoft look and field, and also we have Windows classic look and fields here. This is the code which provides all sort of the look and feels. So this is the output. If you will click on the metal, it will display the metal look and feel, which is here. If you click on the motif, this is the motif look and feel. And if you click on the Windows, this will display the Windows look and feel. So it depends on the user choice. If user wants the motif look and feels, which is very much cool, so from here he or she can select the motif look and feel, which is common desktop environment look and feel. Similarly, this is my Windows look and feel, which is the Microsoft, and this is Metal look and feel. How it works? It works here through providing the different look and feels. Now, if the first button is clicked, then this library, which is java.swings.platform, that is the platform look and feel metal look and feels, is provided as a LAF. And then we have, if we click on the second button, then this is the motif look and feel is in fact set here. And if you click on the third button, then Windows look and feel is set here. And here all these look and feel is implementing through the user interface manager that set look and feel function. And LF is in fact selected here from different buttons clicking. And swings utility that update component tree user interface comma this is in fact used to update the interface. So when you will run this code, it will implement these sort of different look and feels over your computer. Dear students, you have to implement this code to yourself. You just need to copy this code to your Eclipse IDE and run the code. Then you will see how the user interface is changing. And this is the end of the lectures. There are two book references for you. These books are very much important books. The first book is Think Java, How to Think Like a Computer Scientist by Alan Downey and Chris Mayfield. And the second one is Java Programming Basics for Absolute Beginners by Nathan Clark. Also, if you have any question, you can ask the question through the email. My email is m.kadim@kust.edu.pk. I will wait for your question and I will respond soon as I get your emails. Thank you very much.